Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Without Context podcast. This is going up the Friday before Halloween, so as you can see, we're kind of in 2.5 costumes right now. As always, I am SharkyHat, and I am wearing my classic Sharky hat. We also have Decavolty, I believe dressed as Caleb
Oh yeah.
from Critical Role, which recently started its 3rd season. Yay. And we have
Cosplaying any
Haley.
of those characters.
Yeah, and we have Haley, AnxietyLasagna, doing her best Bakugo cosplay with
Move it, extras.
with 2 dirty hands that she can't hold her emotional support shark with.
I know it's gonna be a really rough episode for me.
We're just you can get into it. I was gonna say what we're talking about, but you can talk about it.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit of a lighter topic today. For this episode 11, which I'm actually really impressed we've gotten through 11 episodes of the show consistently. We're going to be talking about the SCP Foundation and some of our favorite SCPs. Maybe some of the more popular ones, maybe some of the more obscure ones, but ones that we like. And then for the second half of the episode, I believe the goal was we're going to make our own, or at least brainstorm an SCP.
Brainstorm one, yeah.
Since anything we come up with probably already exists in the SCP Foundation. There were like
I'm
so
willing
many
to challenge
entries.
that. I'm willing to challenge that.
All right. Well, I hope you all have a good Halloween. Also, if you're watching this over the weekend, if you don't catch us on the day that it goes up, and as always,
be safe. Don't eat a Snickers bar with a syringe in it.
Yeah, don't
drink anything that's just like in a cooler, like the liquid just is in the cooler.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
That's actual advice. My advice was a meme.
If you're old enough to still be going trick-or-treating and watching this podcast, do not take us as role models. So
I think I would be a pretty
Haley
decent
could be a
role model now. Yeah,
Haley
don't
is-
talk about like 2012 to 2015, Haley. That's a different story. But like,
but you were
I
a teenager back then.
No, I was in my 20s.
we had
29, homie.
We had this whole conversation in the D&D Discord earlier.
Yeah.
We're all just going through our ages. But we'll start this off with a Deca today.
Boy, all right. I had my SCP from the jump actually. My favorite SCP was actually featured on Drawfee. Which is wild because of all of the wild amount of SCPs that there are that Sharky alluded to. But my favorite is SCP-1733.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It is a digital recording of the season opener NBA 2010-2011 opening game between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. It is just a recording of the game. Yes. So the reason it is so the first hint as to something being off is somebody they monitored social media and found that somebody talked about a technical foul, or they were complaining about a technical foul that happened in the game that didn't actually happen. And when they confronted it, it was they just saw a Facebook thread about it between Ray Allen and Chris Bosch that never actually occurred in the broadcast. When confronted, they uploaded the relevant segment, much to the confusion of the derogators. Foundation agents embedded in Facebook's moderator team to delete the thread and procured the IP of all individuals present at the chat at the time and administered amnesiatics.
Yeah,
I think that's the word.
Whatever that drug name is, to make you lose your memory.
Yeah. They also recovered the DVR.
I think shit! I just completely knocked my desk with my water bottle. So I think before we actually continue, we should probably explain what the SCP Foundation is. For those that we're going into this assuming everybody knows what we're talking about.
It's probably a bad idea.
Hey man, we are the Without Context podcast.
It is, and if we would live up to our name, but Considering what happened last episode with Who Was Podcast, I think we might count as our own SCP. To put it simply, the SCP Foundation is a community-built wiki page centered on an organization that deals with supernatural and anomalous items, people, and events. It can be anything from some of the more popular stuff like you see in the games, like SCP-682, which is the unkillable lizard, where every time you use a weapon or anything to destroy it, it regenerates immune to that thing.
Oh, it's just fucking what's his name from DC?
Yeah, it's just it's that you have a 079, which I think is the if I remember correctly, that is the infinite staircase, where you can hear like a child crying in the background, and it just goes on forever. No, 79 is a microcomputer. I forget the numbers of a bunch of these, but there's been a lot of SCP games that feature a lot of different ones. A lot of the more popular ones. You have the old man that can like go through walls and leaves behind like the tar. One of the more I think generally known ones is the one that if you don't look at it, it like snaps your neck. The statue is basically a weeping. It's basically
weeping angels. Yeah,
it's basically a weeping angel. I think the first article came out like after that episode of Doctor Who like aired also. So I think somebody just kind of built on
my
that.
neck, daddy.
But looking at it, there are still a lot of blank numbers on the site. They have them by series 1 through series 7, about 1,000 SCPs a piece. There's still a lot of them that haven't had a number claimed yet, but easily this wiki has over 5,000 different entries. So there's definitely a lot that you can go down and get lost in. And there's different sets of canon. Like some people will use SCPs for their own kind of universe, while other people will use it for their own like universe featuring the SCP Foundation. So you have all these different like canons being built out of it also and fleshed out by the community, which is pretty cool. But continue with yours, Deca. If you have anything else to add.
Yeah. So as people play this DVR recording over and over, the commentators seem to know what the play is going to be before the play happens. And after multiple playthroughs, it seems that they have an eidetic memory about the game being played. And not only that, the players themselves are kind of like looking around like, this is kind of weird, guys. No one, but as of yet, according to this wiki page, nobody has tried to speak directly to the viewer.
So they're becoming more aware that stuff's repeating.
Slowly becoming more aware that things are repeating. To the point that even the crowd is kind of like looking around like, huh?
I've eaten this corn dog 6 times now. How am I not full yet?
This is glitch in the Matrix. Like,
yeah, this is definitely glitch in the Matrix. And every time you play back the recording, there's subtle things that happen differently in the game where, like, point totals by the quarter are different. Someone gets a technical foul that wasn't actually there, and so on and so forth. But that's the long and short of it. It is a slowly coming together collective consciousness that is slowly becoming self-aware.
Yeah, and I think that kind of sums up the SCP Foundation as like in the simplest like style. It's a mundane thing displaying some kind of odd property. It only gets weirder when you think like the people being recorded are starting to realize that their world in this game is repeating over and over again. And I like what I like most about these articles is that nothing's ever really clear. Nothing's ever like clear cut. It's always like an implied, or they've put in like a forced redaction to leave out like a word. So you're like reading through like these redacted documents and you're trying to like piece it together. And the presentation of it is really fun. I've sat and I've just read through articles like late at night, just scrolling and scrolling when I didn't want to like, go to sleep just yet. But Haley, let's move on to yours. Unless the Deca has other stuff.
I did have one more
Sure,
thing I wanted
sure.
to add to this, because while they have not reached out to the audience by the 45th playback of this game, they have reached a point to where they're not even playing the game anymore. They're just trying to escape. The exits are all do not work. None of the exits work in this area. They do not lead anywhere, and no matter how much force they put on the doors, they are unable to escape. They're just there.
Is there is there anything in the article? Because this is a recording of real people in the universe. Is there anything about like how the people in the real world react to this, or is it just like it's only affecting what is on the videotape?
Seems to be only affecting the people on the tape. Doesn't seem to have a. I don't think they. It's one of those things where you'd have to find a needle in a haystack to find that person.
Well, I'm thinking like the players, like
Oh sure.
Like if you sit down like the player and you're like, watch this video.
You sit Ray Allen
do you
down
remember
and watch
this?
Video. No. It also says that one of the as they started replaying it more and more, that at first the players would like they would be so keenly attuned to each other's defenses at this point, because they're running the exact same playbook, that the score would be 0-0 until like a couple minutes into the first quarter. And then by playback 45, they're like, "This is weird. We need to get the fuck out of here," and they're unable to.
That's awesome.
And that is SCP-1733.
All right, the infinite universe in a recording.
Infinite NBA game.
What's the actual title for it?
Let's see. SCP-1733.
Like if you find it on like the series page.
I don't know. I don't think it has a series.
Well, it's like what's the number again?
1733.
1733. I think it'd be series 2. Yeah. Because 2 is where the 1000 starts. Okay. 1733.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Season Opener.
Okay.
That's the short, like, identifying title to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Haley, what you got?
Okay, so before we begin, I'm going to need you to repeat the following phrase slowly and clearly into your microphone. I do not recognize the bodies in the water.
I love this one. I do not recognize the bodies in the water.
I do not recognize the bodies in the water.
Excellent. I am ready to tell you about SCP-2316, which is an anomalous phenomenon existing within Lake Redacted within Redacted County Redacted. Which is my favorite part of the whole thing, just like redacted.
That's the SCP for you.
Yep. It manifests as a group of human corpses floating in a small group on the surface of the water. The identities of these corpses are cognito hazard removed, automated change unknown, though DNA testing has been inconclusive. And as you go through the article, it like reminds you to keep saying, I do not recognize the bodies in the water. But it says it appears to be individual instances. Instead of being what they think it is, it may instead be an entity composed of a collected consciousness. Individual instances of SCP-2316 do not act on their own, but seem to be able to act collectively as a single unit. But basically, that's what it is. It's a raft of dead bodies, and whoever looks at it thinks they recognize the bodies, but you have to remind yourself, I do not recognize the bodies floating in the water.
I think the creepiest that like this whole SCP is great. Like I remember loving this one. It's just the name is also like ominous. It's just called Field Trip. Like
that sucks.
Yeah. I learned about this one on TikTok because I think SCP Foundation has a TikTok, or at
This
least fans of SCPs have made TikTok accounts.
somebody probably
And
has.
this one kind of blew up on, at least on my For You page. There was a lot of videos about SCP-2316, and like, I do not recognize the bodies floating in the water. And they're like, oh no, but it's so and so. And they're like, I do not recognize the bodies floating in the water. Yeah, I thought that one was creepy. Um, Learned about it on TikTok. I think this one has a lot of fun applications to use in like other forms of media. Cause like, how spooky would it be if like you're writing like a fictional narrative and your little adventuring party or whatever, if, like say we're applying this to a D&D game, like how spooky would it be if there was some kind of like anomaly? You could probably make it like a mimic or something
Oh,
spooky.
absolutely. I would do this.
And
This
you're walking along the lake and it's like you see your mom floating in the water.
I
Make
think
a wisdom saving throw.
I think like this works in like Call of Cthulhu because that has like the whole sanity aspect to it. But I think like if you want to bring in like the sanity rule for D&D, like that variant
Our
rule,
rules for it.
this would definitely be like good in like a dark fantasy like D&D style game where it's like the hard mode is enabled, you know? Like, but yeah, the whole thing about like other forms of media, like a short film of this would be like probably terrifying. And you
So
could probably
scary.
do it on you can probably do it on like a budget too.
Oh yeah, you
So
just have your buddies just pick a hot day.
Just put a
Be like, hey,
DSLR
can
out.
I pay you to just like, we'll take a few shots from different angles of you just floating face down in the water with some of your homies. Do it with like different bunches of people, so it's like specific to each character, but have the cameras in the same spot. They're like, oh my god, look at that, and then you could have the shot flip between like someone character A would recognize versus someone character B would recognize. That'd be
You'd be
yeah.
the same person. Ooh.
Yeah, the thing is like looking at the article on the webpage too, it's such a short article, but it makes you think like about so much about it. Like the whole thing, like less is more. That's one of the SCPs where that really works. Because it's a basic description, the mantra to say it, and then like a brief like summary of it, but it leaves so much to the imagination.
Yeah, what I don't know if any of you guys are Star Kid production fans. Like they're the people who did a Harry Potter musical, Holy Musical Batman. But they put out a horror musical called The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. And there's one scene where the guy who didn't like musicals, his name's Paul, is talking to the love interest and is like, isn't this whole thing like, basically he's like, see how this thing that's happening right now is really scary. And she's like, the implications. I didn't think about him. I didn't think about him. And then anytime I would look at SCP-2316, I'm like, the implications. You get to think about them. There's so many implications. It's like you said, it's so short, and it's just like it's floating bodies. You don't recognize them. It does. I don't even think it says what happens to you if you like recognize them or if you acknowledge that you recognize them.
See, the thing about the SCP articles is that people can code in like cool things to do with them too. Like you have to like click a link to open up like the rest of the article, or it's like there's these collapsed text files that are like logs of like an interview or something that aren't shown until you like click a link.
Oh no, it says here, if attempting to come into contact with SCP-2316 by way of entering Lake Redacted or touching an instance of SCP-2316 will cause other instances of the SCP to appear. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. The additional instances only serve to reinforce and add strength of the cognito hazard, compelling affected individuals into the lake. Individuals who enter the lake in this way are lost, and to date, none have ever been recovered.
Oh, I actually, there was something that I can click on for my SCP too, and we'll go over that in a little bit. Don't worry about it. It's just it's just the deviations from the original broadcast, and it just as you record more, as more recordings happen, the deviations.
I'm gonna ask Haley if you just saw like the same thing that I did.
They don't want to show you, but I will below.
There are
footnote 6.
there are 6 footnote links, and you hover over them, and it's from an unknown author, and it's just like text. It's like footnote 2. I know who they are. I know their names, each and every one. Don't you? And it's like
Due
all
to the
these like just
nature of SCP-2316 is uncertain how many individual corpses exist within the group. Yeah, this one's normal. Number 2 is spooky. Hate number 2. Number 3 links to a citation, an unfinished citation, where someone's name is a cognito hazard. So now I'm a little bit more spooked.
but it's
4
like
is they're lying. They know damn well who they are. The cognito hazard is real, but it's just their way of crying for help, of letting people know who they are, who they were. And then number 5 is how can you not recognize the bodies in the okay, I'm good. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
But then number 6 is they don't want to show you, but I will below. And when you click on the link
I'm not gonna do it. No,
to do the
I'm
thing,
good.
it gives you a warning. It's like user CRV is not within acceptable limits. User influenced by cognito hazards. Please stay still. A member of your site medical staff is on the way. Like it's just like it's stuff like that. Like it's just these little things. But
I hated that. I hated that experience we just had together.
There's one I forget the actual number, and I remember the SCP itself is fucked. Like it's probably one of the darker, like not even like the grosser thing. It's just like one of the like mentally like darker things that they've had on the site. And if you look into the code like through Google or something where you like inspect element, there's an entire like hidden poem in like the code that somebody like coded in, and it's awesome. But
in through your mouth, Haley, out through your nose.
You remember? Have you guys ever seen the like 6 image thing? It was like how to make yourself happy. It's like shop for a new tie, make macaroni, do cardio, and then it's like don't let the existential dread set in. Don't let it set in.
Let it.
And then somebody posted one. It's like you don't recognize the bodies in the water. You don't recognize the bodies in the water. And then the last one's just vacuum rug.
So, I did not know. Like 100% real talk, listeners of the podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, I'm making solid eye contact with you right now. I did not read the footnotes before I started talking about this being my favorite SCP. I now might be a little bit spooked about lakes forever now. So you're just watching me develop an irrational fear in real time.
So, anything you'd like to further add, Haley, or?
You don't recognize the bodies in the water.
You don't recognize.
That is all I'd like to add. That and whoever wrote that article, I can give you the phone number to my therapist anytime you need it.
All right. Well.
All right, Sharky, how are you going to traumatize me today?
No, because my favorite SCPs are kind of like the dumber ones.
Oh, thank God. I'm the one who's SCP myself this episode.
SCP-261. It is classified as safe, and employees can actually use it. It is an unmarked Japanese vending machine where you can put in any amount of money up to, I think, 500 yen, according to this, and it will spit out something random. They have opened it up to look at it. There's everything inside is as it should be. It just dispenses random objects.
Does it give a list of things it's dispensed?
Yeah, I'm gonna go from top to bottom here.
I like this is a good thing for D. This is a good one I would put in my D&D game.
Yeah. Currently, SCP-261 may only be used 10 times in a 24-hour period, with no transaction exceeding the equivalent of 500 Japanese yen. Items dispersed by SCP-261 should be reviewed by site health and safety officials before consumption. Failure to do so releases the Foundation from any obligation regarding negative effects.
That's great.
It gets better because there's one further down that I guess establishes that rule.
Used underwear.
SCP-261 appears to be a large black vending machine with no front glass panel and a small keypad on the right side. It was recovered in Yokohama, Japan. It was brought to the Foundation's attention as an investigation of an urban legend about a magic vending machine. It was found in a back alley of a large shopping center with a handwritten sign saying out of order. It has no marks or identification of any kind, and no locals remember when or how it came to be in its current location. Internally, it appears to be a basic vending machine. After a key was made and the front door opened, no abnormal materials were found, and it was determined that it never actually contained any food or beverages. The keypad, while connected and operating correctly, does not activate any of the dispensing mechanisms. When money is placed in and a 3-digit number is entered into the keypad, it will vend a random item. SCP-261 has not accepted any currency other than yen, with rejected currency being deposited into the coin return slot. So, further down here, a list of log of items vended during testing phase.
Before you start that,
Sure.
Deca, do Deca and I, can we guess something that would be, or something we would want to be vended out of the machine?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, Deca, what would you guess would come out of the magic vending machine?
I think the first couple vends would be something innocuous at first, like something like some jerky or something innocuous like a snack.
Okay. Haley?
This is a Japanese magic vending machine, so I have to think, what would Katsuki Bakugo want to come out of a vending machine?
God.
Besides, like, the blood of his enemies. I would guess that comes out of this vending machine, because it's a random object. It hasn't said it has to necessarily be something that would come out of it.
It is food. It is technically.
Oh, it's always food?
It's items are always some form of snack food or or like a can of beverage.
I'm going to guess like Flamin' Hot Cheetos flavored cricket.
Okay.
Flamin' Hot crickets.
Log of items vended during testing phase 8. 800 yen entered for each item. Items being dispensed every 2 minutes. Did I actually misread that? Is it at least 500 or cannot exceed?
That's what I thought you said too.
Numbers are hard. Math is dumb. Numbers are hard.
Yes, they are.
I literally look like Bakugo's Zoom
Silence
class.
degree
Like, I
haver.
cannot get over it.
Silence degree haver.
No transaction exceeding 500. So this is just a bunch of stuff put in over a period of time.
Okay, so they did 800 total.
Yeah. Coke Zero, a can of Diet Coke, packaged in English. Cheetos, a small bag of Cheetos snack food, packaging in English. Black, a single pack of caffeinated chewing gum, packaged in Japan. Yan, a single yan cone with peach dipping frosting, packaged in Japanese. The Maji Seika company does not produce this flavor. Pepsi Dragon Twist, a can of Pepsi Cola with a trace of fruit flavor, packaged in English. The fruit flavor has been identified as dragon fruit. PepsiCo does not produce this item. Dark Side Cola, a quote-unquote can with clear plastic sides, packaged in Japanese. Liquid inside is clear. When opened, liquid appears to react to the air and changes to a dark black over a period of several seconds. The black coloration looks like bellowing smoke and cannot be reversed. Liquid's taste described as cola, with something spicy in it.
Pretty cool.
That would be the coolest.
I've had cinnamon flavored Pepsi. It's fine.
Yeah. The Little Bakery, 7 grain. A small tube the size of a candy bar with a green button, made of aluminum, packaged in English. When the top is twisted off, a massive dough is extruded. Dough contains several enzymes and bacteria that have yet to be identified. On contact with the air, this causes the dough to rise and bake, killing the microbes in the process. Produces a small round loaf of bread weighing 250 grams. Taste described as good but chewy.
It's like that powder that Rey uses in The Force Awakens, that she puts some water in and stirs the cup and then bread appears.
Lemon clams. Thick plastic baggie with a plastic tube on the side containing water and 12 clams, packaged in Dutch. Following on-package instructions, the plastic tube is cracked like a glow stick. Liquid in the bag, flash to steam, venting from a hole that popped open at the top of the bag, slightly burning one researcher. Steaming finished after 38 seconds, in which the clams are found to be fully cooked and infused with a mild lemon flavor. On investigation, clams match no recorded species. the
This
more
is
like I'm reading this, I'm like, this is
dope.
just like an interdimensional like vending machine from like alternate timelines.
It's a Rick and Morty vending machine.
It really is.
Diet Ghost. A can containing an instance of SCP-2107, which I'm gonna look that up real quick. It
That's
is
wild.
another can of soda.
I love the diversity of SCPs, man. We had like haunted videotape, actual nightmare, and then unusual soda.
I think this is a soda that causes you to be haunted. Like, it's a big article, so
what?
I don't know. It's a big article, so I'm not gonna like fully read it, but it's okay. Description: 2107 designates a soft drink brand known as Diet Ghost, which displays anonymous properties when imbibed. SCP-2107 has to date only encountered package has only been encountered packaged by the individual can. Within 3 to 7 minutes of ingestion, subjects begin to experience paranormal activity that most often falls in the colloquial expectations of an individual being haunted by a ghost or paranormal activity.
Jeez
So,
Louise.
it's a spooky drink. Testing
perfect for the season.
All right, a can containing an instance of 2107 packaged in English. Testing done on this instance provided results similar to other contained instances of 2107. This marks the first time the SCP has vended another SCP.
Something reproduction?
There are 3 that are unknown. A small mesh bag filled with small multicolored pyramids packaged in an unknown language. Pyramids found to be very hard and unpleasant tasting compared to chalk in taste and consistency. When placed in hot water, pyramids open and produce strings that quickly dissolve, coloring the water the same shade as the pyramid. Water has no additional taste, but testing revealed a sharp increase in mineral, carbohydrate, and protein content, with several minerals unidentified at the present time. This content was found to be consistent with the recommended daily intake of nutrients for human adults. Researchers ingesting the water reported stomach cramps 2 hours later, but no other side effects.
Vitamin water.
Yeah, it's just water and like
it's just a freaky LaCroix.
It's just a fucked up LaCroix, yeah.
It's just a freaky LaCroix.
I like this one. Aluminum box with a small glass window on the side and a large round button on the top. Packaged in an unknown language. Box is seamless and appears to be filled with small round animals covered in fur, each with 3 small paws and a single large eye. Pressing the button causes the insides of the box to rapidly become superheated, cooking the small animals alive. Muffled noises and scratching were heard for several seconds during the cooking phase. After 1 minute 30 seconds, the front panel opens and gives access to the now cooked animals. Professor Kane volunteered to eat the animals, with no other researchers willing to do so. He described it as crunchy, very spicy, with a small hint of beef. And then the last one, which I think Bakugo might enjoy. A tall, thin aluminum can, packaged in an unknown language. Opening the can caused a chemical reaction with liquid inside the can. Liquid was apparently not intended for an oxygenated environment and detonated violently, causing several injuries and killing 2 researchers. Testing discontinued and area cleared. Testing area observed to smell like citrus for a few days.
Exploding citrus.
I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't see this link apparently to more testing.
Lemon explosion murder.
There's a thing of Oreos, no unusual taste, Jolly Ranchers, standard flavors of green apple and watermelon, but also with pomegranate and blackberry.
Yeah, those don't exist.
And like a bunch of other Mountain Dew Hot Pink, carbonated liquid with a bright pink color, and proved to be a potable, tasting very sweet and tart. Mild sugar high ensued. Flavor identified as a mix of pomegranate and green apple. I would actually want to try that Mountain Dew.
That sounds diabetic.
It probably is.
I don't like soda because the carbonation hurts my mouth. Like, it's unpleasant to have in my mouth. And then when you burp, it burns your nose. I don't understand anybody who drinks soda. That shit's the worst.
Bro, how long is this document? This guy made so many things. It's like,
You mean the machine dispenses so many things, the totally real magic vending machine.
there's a lot.
Disclaimer.
There's a lot.
SCPs aren't real.
No, but yeah, this guy made a whole other page of just like every little thing that came out of it, and this thing easily is longer than like any Wikipedia page I've ever come across.
The Magna Carta.
At some point, you're just like, we get the point.
Yeah, like if you put a ruler against your monitor and measure it, it's like a quarter of an inch, like mark on like the scroll bar. Like this guy made such a long document.
He just
probably
probably got like hella baked one day and was just like, what weird foods would come out of a magic vending machine? And his other buddies like tried to like, wouldn't it be awesome if there was like a hot pink Mountain Dew? And they're like, oh my god, bro.
It's just like, what weird shit can this vending machine pop out today? I'm pretty sure with how long that document was, this man's not going to be done until he has every key combination accounted for an item.
Oh my god, yeah, that's what he's doing.
It's just like
math. Fucking math nerds.
A 3-digit key. He's like, I'm gonna make one for every input option. But yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. There are other ones that are up there. Like I like the I forget the numbers, but I like the SCP that's basically Cain from the Bible, but he's like an unstoppable like superhuman that like fights the Foundation trying to get out of his like cell and everything. And then
Superman.
I liked the one you talked about last week, Deca, Sharky, with the like the happy squish boy.
Yeah, the giant blob that makes you feel feelings of euphoria.
Yeah, I want that one.
He's allowed to just wander around the facility. So,
except for that 1 hour that he needs.
He needs to sleep. Yeah, he needs to take a nap. And then all of the SCP ones. The first SCP on their list is a very special number for them. So they even like disclaim it in their thing. It's like only one of these. They have a bunch of different SCP-001 entries, and they have like a disclaimer on. It's like one of these is true. The other ones are false to avoid it being found out. But it's like it's from that idea where there's like 7 or 8 like SCP-001s that all these like different canon storylines pop out of, because it's like, oh cool, this is the original SCP that we're going to use to make like our universe of things. And then another one's like, we're going to take this one and make that our universe of things, like based on this is the original. But all of those ones are like the more like, those are some of like the weirder ones for me, because it's like some are like alternate realities, some are like godlike beings, and it's like it gets weird because like all of these things start going into alternate realities, alternate universes. You have like a whole bunch of like religious elements to a bunch of them, and there's like this whole canon of like a bunch of different like religious sects trying to take over some of these SCPs and use them. So it's like,
you should hear about the playbacks that I've been looking at for mine.
Oh, did you have like a list of like changes for playbacks?
Yeah. I can go over that if you guys want.
Yeah, just give us a few, see how things change up when he's reviewing.
Let's see. Let's just start, because the first few are just normal playbacks from like playback 1 to like playback 14. It's just normal things. Like one deviation is like LeBron James is observed scowling and like shaking his head at the crowd who's booing him, which is whatever. There is
James.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You're good. Playback 15 is when Celtics power forward Glenn Davis is able to execute a crucial block that he does not do in the original broadcast on LeBron James, causing the Celtics to have continue their lead. Playback 26 is because the Boston. So in the real world, the Boston Celtics won the game. By playback 26, it was the first Miami Heat victory, who won 112-85. Crowd becomes aggressive, shouting obscenities and hurling food stuff. And this was also the first game together for the Miami Heat's big three of Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and I forget who the third one was. By playback 44, the players come out, but they're very disoriented as they come out, and the game's completely called off. And what you see is a bunch of medical staff interviewing the players to check, but all of them report having dreamed about playing this game the night before, and it's just the medical staff interviewing like the crowd and the players for the entirety of the recording. By playback 51, all exits are sealed, and they find that out as they try to exit. There's a physical altercation between some drunk college kids and an older dude trying to leave. It leaves that old man concussed. It's the first recorded violent incident. But in the next playback, it is revealed that that person who was knocked unconscious is seemingly unharmed, but has memories of it. So he goes to beat up those guys. By playback 55, they are cognization with all the people in the crowd and the players has progressed to the point where everyone remembers the things they did over the week. Everyone remembers like everyone knows how the game goes. Everyone remembers how their week went.
That's spooky. I would hate that.
By playback 65, crowds have since broken up into factions. To your point, Sharky, about the religious sects trying to organize, one of the organizations is known as the Faith Keepers.
So it just turns into Mad Max, like
they believe that the TD Garden, that they've been confined here as a punishment for rampant consumerism in the post-industrial world, and they have burnt offerings of their mobile phones, car keys, purses, wallets in the court center.
As someone who's been in TD Garden before, checks out. That place is a hellscape. Checks out. Checks out.
Massachusetts in general, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I got to see. I think I saw Muse play at TD Garden one time.
Mm-hmm. But there's still people that are still like that are still trying to make escape routes. And the players are no longer even there. They're just in their locker rooms apparently. As the playbacks go on and on, the Faith Keepers are growing in number. Somebody tried to set an explosive off at a door, and it didn't work.
I'm just gonna react anytime explosive is mentioned.
Hell yeah. By playback 95, hedonistic displays of sex and violence have sufficiently curbed the efforts of the people, the Faith Keepers. Makeshift curtains are hung around the site of an orgy at Lodge 8 at the urging of Section 320 members.
All right, I don't even care anymore, man. It peaked at orgy. You can't get any better than curtained off orgy.
It goes into ritual sacrifice after that, so yes, it doesn't get any better.
Oh my god. I would actually watch basketball, man. That would make me want to watch basketball.
The Faith Keepers, by playback redacted, Faith Keepers storm player facilities to retrieve Paul Pierce and LeBron James. The players who are ritually sacrificed in their bodies are subsequently displayed on the area's jumbotron. Other than that, no effect on the recording.
I feel like I feel like whoever wrote this just hates LeBron James.
LeBron James.
By the last playback redacted is first recorded deviation in arena light to a deep red color. Data expunged.
But yeah, so it's just all this like weird shit like that.
Mm-hmm. You can watch the slow trickle into madness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sharky
on.
screamed outside of my window just
Oh,
now.
okay. I hope I can hear that on
That's
the recording.
I couldn't hear anything from her end, so
Yeah.
no, I'm just sitting here and all of a sudden you see her someone go, ah! So I was like,
but
continue.
so it's like I just really like this website. Like I just like the creativity that goes behind it, and I like the people that have made like multiple SCPs and can even like tie them into other people's SCPs without feeling like they're overpowering that person's like a lore behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like all the stuff that went into just like making it seem official, like all the classifications of like safe or Euclid, which is like it just has to be contained. It's safe but needs to be contained still. And then you have like the world ending like stuff that it's like they have dedicated facilities like ready to like detonate a nuke on it if they need to destroy it. And it's like the whole premise is like we're doing our best to save the world, but we are losing, like
Mm-hmm.
compared to these things. So
I think this last little bit here, we could try to make an SCP ourselves. I did have an idea for one that maybe you two can help me refine.
sure.
As you may recall in the last episode of Without Context, I referenced a certain Judas Priest song that was in court proven not to be given subliminal messaging. I want that whole album to have like a subliminal message when you play it. Not even playing it backwards, just when you play it. The
Well,
album is hold on, I got the album. The album is 1978 Stained Class. Sorry, didn't mean to talk over you.
oh no, I was just saying like because I know the original court case was like had a pretty dark subject matter attached to it, like what
Yeah.
they thought the subliminal messaging is. I think we should go in the opposite direction.
Sure.
I think the subliminal messaging stuff should be like absurd, like blending like some of the spooky of like yours and mine. Like as yours progressed, it got spooky. Mine was spooky because I didn't read the citations and the footnotes. um, but taking from the concept of like the magic vending machine, we need to just come up with like absurd subliminal messaging that people would be like, "There's no way that song does that." But if you listen to
Subliminal
it,
message. It's a
if you
different
listen
subliminal
to like
message
this
every
specific
recording.
copy of like if it's like a certain like vinyl
Mm-hmm.
of that is the anonymous like the anonymous vinyl of it and it has like subliminal messaging. It's like, oh, if you listen to track 15, you have the uncontrollable urge to just like only wear polka dots or something stupid.
Mine's gonna be a weird can of gamer subs that lets you do something crazy. I haven't really thought about it yet. I just grabbed the first thing I had in front of me, and that was
G
a.
Fuel that didn't have lead in it.
It's like just
Uh,
thinking gamer subs here. We can come up with something anonymous about this, right? So
Oh my
sure.
god. When
So, good.
you had mentioned Sharky in yours that there was like a thing of caffeinated gum and I got transported back to like 2011 MLG in Providence, Rhode Island where these poor women had to walk around in like crop bikini tops and booty
oh my
shorts being like,
god.
"Would you like some caffeinated stride gum?" And I'm like, "You better be making bank, homie. Like you better be making so much money peddling this stupid shitty gum."
I remember at a Renfest, there were some random bikini babes that were just like, "You want some Red Bull, honey?" Like, it's 90 degrees out. Honey, no, please.
That is not ye old Red Bull. Ye old Crimson Bull.
I'm looking around my room and it's just the Lego Infinity Gauntlet that lets you recreate the actual Infinity Gauntlet powers.
I think a worse nightmare SCP for me would be like a phone. Like I have like a phobia of making phone calls to strangers. So I think a terrible SCP would be a cell phone that only ever calls strangers. Like you can have your contacts loaded into it, but no matter who you call, you don't know who's going to pick up on the other end of the line.
There's probably
That
a
shit
cell
would
phone
be a
SCP.
nightmare to me. That probably already exists because, like, us socially anxious weirdos, like,
Let's take that and
I've-
let's take that and like
Go ahead.
adjust it a little bit. It's you have all your contacts in, but it calls a different universe's version of that person.
oh my god, alternate universe, my mom.
And it's
Oh
like,
no, but then that would be so. I mean, you could. Hi, we went to a dark place really fast. What if like you still had someone's contact in your phone that in this universe is like no longer with us, but you call it and they pick up in the alternate universe?
it's just casual too. It's just like
Oh.
it's just casual. The answer's just yellow. You're like,
You've been dead for 10 years.
who
I'm
is
You don't
home
even
this?
know
now.
what a
What are you
Google
talking
Pixel is.
They're just high on the couch, just who is this? It's just
I love that your phone is a freaking Xbox.
Xbox controller. I was playing
Here, I'll
some
do
video
it too.
games last night.
Hello, my RGB mouse.
I don't know if you've ever seen the webcomic of the person who's high and they're like trying to pull open the microwave door and the handle comes off. And they're just like looking at it and they go, hello?
Hello?
It's just-
They've
just
done
with
that on
the-
TikTok.
Yeah, it's like I think it's even like a satyr in like the drawing too. It's like they pull off the handle of the microwave and they just kind of look at it and just hello. It's just like that's kind of mood.
Off topic, and this is my last off topic comment. When you're trying to mime that you're on the phone, what hand movement do you use? This one, right?
Well,
My
normally I'm
little
like,
nieces and nephew say, "Oh, I'm talking on the phone."
Well,
Because they've only ever known a flat phone.
I was gonna say they didn't have a radio phone.
they didn't have the phones you could like hit the end of it and like pops up and you catch it.
They never saw the hamburger phone.
The hamburger phone is
Oh my god,
legendary.
a cursed, like an SCP that's a hamburger phone.
No shit, I think the hamburger phone might actually be an SCP. Let me look it up real quick.
Sorry, I'm having way too much fun being Bakugo right now. I might have to make
He's
this my
bad.
official Halloween costume.
Is that
I'm
just
gonna
a
freak
normal-
my fiance out though. Looking straight on, like.
Okay, so I was half right. Apparently there's an SCP that's just a hamburger. Okay, so let's SCP SCP 4348. Containment class safe, crossed out, neutralized.
Neutralized.
Somebody ate it.
Description obsolete.
Somebody shot it with a rifle.
Ate it.
SCP-4348 is it's a building. 42 hours prior to their visit, the patron will inevitably encounter SCP-4348/1. It is a medium rare cheeseburger with toppings of lettuce, tomato, cheese made from goat milk, mustard, and a wheat-based bun, along with a side of French fries. The words "Dotto Burger" are burned onto the top of the patty. Modes for encountering it vary from person to person, but common scenarios include finding it in their ovens, microwave, or air conditioning units, discovering it in a dumpster or other trash unit, having a friend or relative offer them it free of charge, opening food packaging in order to eat another food, but then finding it wrapped in its plastic wrapping.
Amazing.
Oh my god, that's be like, oh man, I'm so excited to eat these wontons. A burger.
There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack in this article. I don't think we have time for this.
We don't have time to unpack all of this.
Because apparently it's also like a building and a gas station. Where
that's a lot. That's a lot.
In addition,
I liked the magic hamburger.
In addition, there's a series of gas pumps built next to SCP-4348 labeled as Vroom Juice. So, I'm just kind of like, it is a signage indicates that it is called Dotto Burger, and France Fry, created by Dotto. All municipal records indicate that it is a non-anomalous Burger King owned by one Dotto C. Dotto. It's just a
Oh my
weird Burger
God.
King with Comic Sans logo.
Oh
It's just-
hell yeah.
It's
Hell
it's just
yeah.
it's just the Kurger being Facebook account.
Or the nihilist Arby's account.
Okay, apparently, there is they sent somebody in, and there's a greeter at the counter. Hello, yes, welcome to Dotto Burger and France Fry. I am Dotto, superstar entrepreneur and pharmacist. Produce great items. What food will you eat? It's just
Wait. It's burger and what fries?
That's right.
France fries.
France fry. Oh my god. So I still like love approximately incorrect naming things. Like in Undertale they call it instead of potato chips, it's potato chips. So that's the only thing I call potato chips now is potato chips. So now it's gonna be burger and France fries.
Kurger's already like in my head because of a number of my friends.
France fries, man. That's what my
France
poor
fries is
fiance.
good.
My poor fiance is gonna have to start dealing with my even more purposefully butchered English. But
There's a
I
lot to
feel
unpack
like,
on this, and I'm
yeah,
gonna have to read it
maybe we'll
later.
do a whole ass
So-
episode just on
Bonus
the
bonus context.
burger,
The Borgar.
the burger and France
Yeah.
fries. But take us home, Sharky. Take us home.
Yeah, so that has been the final episode of our spooky month. Was it that spooky? But it's definitely covering some of the stuff that can be scary, especially you don't recognize the bodies in the water.
You don't recognize the bodies
I
in the water.
scared myself this episode. I have no one to blame but myself.
There's a lot of creepy SCPs like we didn't even touch on. Like that's why so many SCP horror games popped up, because a lot of these are just really fucking scary sometimes too. And some of them are just jokes, like Dotto Burger. So, but yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. We will be trying to get Alvin and Charlie back onto a schedule where they can join us. It's just been rough this month.
October's been really busy for everybody.
It has, and but you know, we want to get the content out for you guys, so we do our best. But thank you for joining us on this episode of the Without Context podcast. You guys can find us anywhere on our flow code, TikTok, which I think we haven't used yet, Twitter, which I occasionally post to, and all these other social media pages that once we get more love from you guys, we'll definitely get more activity on. And as always, you can comment on the videos. You can see we definitely try to respond to everybody. I've seen Haley respond to some people and all
Whiffle
that.
speed, my friend. Whiffle speed, my friend.
Whiffles who commented on every video that we had up until that point. And like paragraphs on paragraphs of talk. It was awesome. But yeah, as always, I have been SharkyHat. This has been Deca and AnxietyLasagna. And we hope you guys will join us next week as we get into the writing month.
What I want to talk about. It's
with-
Haley month.
It is Haley.
Haley Day.
It is. It will mostly probably be Haley month because of National Novel Writing Month, which I believe me and Haley are both taking part in.
Oh, have I
So-
successfully believed?
I came up with an idea and I talked to Kristen about it, so we have a joint like thing going.
We've also promised Haley the first episode in November.
You've
Yeah,
also
because-
promised me a Skyrim episode, so
We did promise you a Skyrim episode,
you
but
did
she
promise
put up
me a Skyrim
she put up
episode.
with the spooky stuff for October, so she gets first call in November. But you did it, Haley. You survived 5 episodes.
You did it.
Oh my god, I did
real proud
5
of
of
you.
these? Dear
Yeah, you
god.
did.
Almost my whole date's thrown off, and yeah, this is the last week of October. So
Sick, cool. It's over. It's over. It's over.
she's so happy. Nope. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you all next week. Bye everybody.
Bye, losers.